Welcome to RidgeLife. I'm Tim, and today we're going to do some more winter chores in the apiary. Today we're going to show you a few things we do in the wintertime, how we store our drawn comb frames that may have pollen and honey in them, putting mouse guards back on, and also doing some winter feeding. So if you're like me, you've got a lot of beekeeping supplies in your garage. Not only do you keep them in a storage building or a barn, but you have them near your house as well. So when you pull those supers off in the fall or summer, and they've got a lot of honey on them, you can leave them out so the bees can reclaim a lot of that. You may induce some robbing. So usually what I like to do is take the whole super off with all the extracted frames or the unfulfilled frames, and I put them in the freezer. Putting them in the freezer will, of course, kill all the small hive beetles and any other pests that are in the frames or that are in the nooks and crannies of the box itself. I put them here. Of course, putting them in the freezer uses up valuable freezer space. So we've got a solution today. We can see that these are extracted honey frames from our super. I've extracted all the honey from these, and this is a foundationless frame, and so I can just put this right back in the spring, and the bees will clean this up and start to fill it and save a lot of time and work for those bees. This is another foundationless frame, and you can see that they've done a lot of work to get this point, and if I was just to leave this out in the barn, the wax moths would get to it and it would just be all nasty. You can see we've got a lot more room in our freezer now to store venison and other game we harvest here on the ridge. Of course, you probably got beekeeping materials stashed at your barn and your outbuilding just like you do at your house. You've got bottom boards, you've got inner covers, and you probably have a lot of drawn comb frames. Now you can put them in a plastic bag and hope the wax moths and mice don't get to them. I usually put all of my drawn comb frames in the freezer for at least 24 hours. I usually leave them there a few days before I bring them out to the barn to store them. You just never know what's going to happen in a plastic bag or just a regular tote. Pests can get in there, that's for sure. We're out here at the apiary. It is mid-January. It is cold out here. The bees are inactive. Real good time to go over what we do with our unused frames of drawn comb in the wintertime. Drawn comb that has been in the freezer or has been outside in January is very brittle. And if you're just storing it in a plastic bag like this, most likely it's going to get broken and just turn into powder and dust when it's frozen. Then, of course, it's going to be a sticky, gooey mess whenever it warms back up. So it's a very smart thing to do to keep your frames, especially if they have any kind of pollen or honey in them, stored in your super boxes. That way it keeps the separation there and keeps everything from getting damaged. Storing your frames in plastic bags like this, you can see they're just all haphazardly put in here. And of course, bugs can get in the holes, and then getting them broken. See all the comb? That was all comb that was drawn perfectly by our bees, and we smashed and broke it by having them just haphazardly put in this bag. Again, here you can see how fragile this wax comb is when it gets cold. Our solution to unwanted pests like wax moths and our drawn comb and just broken comb from randomly placed frames is sealed containers. I got these sealed containers from Amazon, got a pack of 4, and they're large enough to put a super box in it with frames or just a bunch of deep frames, and they've got a gasket that goes all the way around. That's going to keep out pests, and these have 4 latches to keep these sealed nice and tight. For these supers that have drawn comb with extracted honey and pollen stores still left on them, I'm going to put them whole inside these large containers. Of course, I could just put the frames in there by themselves, neatly stack them, and get a lot more frames in there, but now I've got a 8-frame box with 8 drawn comb honey frames that I can just put on in the springtime whenever the flow begins. All I do to get these ready to store is just get my top on there. Everything's ready. Pop the latches on all 4 sides and we're ready to go. Now we've got tons of deep, fully drawn comb. We're going to just start storing these in here. I'm going to put them in upside down. One like this, one like this. Now none of these have honey in them. These are all just drawn comb, fully empty. If they had any honey in them, you want to make sure you store them straight up and down, because putting them upside down, the honey will drain out. Because I don't know if you know this, the cells aren't made perfectly level. They're made at a little bit of an upward slant, and that keeps the honey from draining out whenever it's warm. Again, you can see all the damage we did to these by storing them in a bag. Look at all that lost wax there. We got tons of the small super frames as well, and you can see how flaky the wax is. We get them in here and they'll be protected perfectly. We've got this one loaded up. Now let's go ahead and get it sealed. We're ready for storage. These totes will actually hold a full 8 frame deep. They fit a little snug, but they do level out, and you can get your lid firmly attached. There are tons of sealed totes out there like this. I like these because they've got the 6 latches to fully seal it. These fit the 8 frame boxes just fine. There are tons wider ones that will fit a 10 frame box. They're not made for this purpose, but they sure do serve it well. So if you like these, I'll put the link in the description. These are just the ones I used. I got a 4-pack. They've got different sizes and packages you can get, and I think you're really gonna like them. We're up here in the loft of the Ridge barn, and this is where I like to store a lot of the materials, we don't use constantly in our apiary. I've got unused feeders, I've got super boxes, of course some pro nukes, and tons of unused unwaxed frames. This is where we're going to store our containers with all of our drawn comb, honey, and pollen stores. If you're worried about mold building up on it from going from the freezer out here, again, I'm keeping them here all winter, and then I'll be reusing them in the spring, but the bees will clean it all up. They seriously will. This just really just keeps the pest out of it. When we were out here last time, we treated our bees with oxalic acid vapor, and we left our entrance reducers on. Well, now it's time to go ahead and put our mouse guards back on. Mouse guards are real easy to put on. Just pop out your entrance reducer, slide the mouse guard up to the entrance, get it pushed back, put your screws in, and you're ready to go. Once you've got your mouse guards tightened down, now your comb, your honey, and your bee space is protected from all those rodents trying to get in there and make a warm nest for themselves and have a little food. You may have asked, why not just use the entrance reducer small little hole here as a mouse guard? Well, there's a couple reasons. Believe it or not, mice can flatten themselves out and get through that little hole. Another thing is this is wood, and they will eat through to get in there to that safe space. Using a metal mouse guard with the holes just small enough for the bees to get in and out ensures you keep those rodents out. What we're going to be feeding today is our Pro Winter Pollen Patty. And it's not really a patty, it's more of a granulated sugar mix. It does the bees great during the wintertime. It's about 40 degrees today, so I'm definitely not going to be breaking open the box and doing a hive inspection. All I'm doing is removing the cover and the moisture board to get to the inner cover and see if we have bees, see how their winter stores are going, and check for moisture content. And looks like we still got lots of winter feed here, so that's good. And you can see the moisture building up here, and this moisture board's doing its job, and I see bees. We can see the winter patties are still on the top here, so it means they're not taking that. They're doing good down below with all their winter stores. If we get down closer, you can actually see the bees down in there. Let's check the next one here and see how they're doing, if they've eaten any of their winter patty or they're still good on their stores. Take this off. Ooh, lots of bees. And they've eaten some. So I'm going to set them off to the side here. Give them a lot more. Set that down right there. Don't want to disturb them too much, that's for sure. They'll all come flying out at me. Definitely don't want to do that. Just want to keep enough for them to be happy. We'll squish that flat. You can see I'm starting to fly out. One tried to attack me there. Let's get this cover back on. Squish that flat so there's no air can get through there. Make sure there's lots of room there. Get the cover back on. Woo, we made it without getting stung. That was close. I can hear the bees inside this box being active. They didn't like me being in there too much, but we did get them open briefly, made sure there were bees in there, gave them some winter stores for number 2 here, number 1 over there. Didn't need any. They still had enough winter stores, so they didn't need the winter patty. We got the mouse guards put back on. That was good, keep the rodents out. We also stored our drawn comb with pollen and honey on it to keep all the wax moths out. So I think it was a pretty good day in the apiary. I hope you like what you saw today. We do a lot of things here on the ridge besides work our bees. We've got rabbits and chickens. We're building a log home if you haven't seen that. So please subscribe to Ridge Life if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up on this video if you liked it, and be sure to hit the notification bell to be notified anytime a new video comes out on Ridge Life. So until next time, I hope everyone has a blessed day, and go Ridge Life.